Have you ever opened your banking app, stared at your balance, and thought, how is this still the same number? I just got paid. Like you work a full 40 hours, sometimes more. You're not out here buying Gucci bags or flying first class. You're just living. Groceries, gas, rent, maybe a Netflix subscription, and one takeout order on a Friday night because you earned it. And somehow, at the end of every single month, there is nothing left. Nothing. And the worst part? You can't even figure out where it went. That right there, that feeling, is exactly why I made this video. Because I have been in that place. I know what it feels like to watch other people talk about saving money like it's the easiest thing in the world, and you're sitting there thinking, must be nice. But here's what I want you to hear today. And I need you to really let this land. You are not bad with money. You were just never taught how money actually works. There's a difference, a big one. My name is Deborah, and welcome back to Deborah Invests, the channel where we take the complicated world of personal finance and break it down so that it actually makes sense for your real life. Not the life of some finance bro on YouTube with a Lamborghini in his driveway. Your life. The one with the student loans and the electric bill and the paycheck that disappears faster than you can blink. Today, we are talking about something that changes everything once you hit it. Your first $10,000 saved. Now, I know some of you just heard that number and laughed a little. Maybe it felt far away. Maybe it felt impossible, and I get it. I really do. But I want you to stay with me today because by the time this video is over, you are going to see that $10,000 not as a fantasy, but as a plan. A real, step-by-step, built-for-your-life plan. We're going to cover 9 specific strategies, and I mean real strategies, not skip-your-morning coffee nonsense, that can completely change how fast your savings grow. Each one of these can free up hundreds of dollars a month. Put them together, and we're talking about a system that actually works. So if you're ready to stop wondering where your money goes and start telling it where to go, let's get into it. And before we dive in, if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button, because this is just the beginning of what we're building together. Before we get into the strategies, I want you to understand why this number matters so much. Because it's not just about the money, it's about what the money does to your mind and to your options. Most Americans are one unexpected expense away from financial crisis. One car repair, one medical bill, one layoff. That's it. The whole thing falls apart. And it's not because people are irresponsible. It's because nobody ever helped them build a cushion. When you have $10,000 saved, something shifts. You stop making decisions out of fear. You stop taking the first job offer because you're desperate. You stop putting the car repair on a credit card because you have no choice. You stop losing sleep at 2 a.m. running numbers in your head. $10,000 is not just savings. It is breathing room. It is options. It is the foundation that everything else gets built on. And here's the part that really gets me excited. Once you build that first $10,000, the next $10,000 comes faster. And the one after that comes faster still. That's the compounding effect. And we'll talk about it in detail. But you have to get that first one. That's the one that requires the most intention, the most strategy, and honestly, the most belief that it's possible for you. So let's talk about what's actually stopping most people from getting there. I want you to picture something with me. Imagine you're trying to fill up a bucket with water. You've got a hose running, you're putting water in, but the bucket has holes in the bottom, small ones, maybe ones you can't even see clearly. And no matter how much water you pour in, you can never get the bucket full. That is exactly what's happening with most people's paychecks right now. It's not that you're not earning enough, although for some of us, that's a real issue too, and we'll address it. It's that money is leaking out of your financial bucket in ways you haven't identified yet. Subscriptions you forgot you had, interest charges you're paying every month, fees that quietly drain your accounts, insurance you're overpaying for. These are the holes. And until you plug them, it doesn't matter how much you earn. You will stay stuck. The strategies I'm sharing today are about 2 things: plugging the holes and increasing the water pressure. Both matter. Together, they're unstoppable. Here's something I need to say before we get into the tactics, because if you don't understand this, none of the strategies will stick. Saving money is not a willpower problem. I want to say that again because I spent years thinking I just wasn't disciplined enough. I thought if I could just try harder, want it more, be more strict with myself, then I'd finally make progress. Sound familiar? Here's the truth. Willpower is a limited resource. It runs out. Every single day you wake up and try to white-knuckle your way through a budget. You're fighting against your own human nature. and human nature will win eventually, every time. The people who successfully save money don't rely on willpower. They build systems that make saving automatic where the right thing happens whether you feel motivated or not. Think about it like brushing your teeth. You don't motivate yourself to brush your teeth every morning. You just do it because it's a built-in habit. Your savings need to work the same way. Everything I'm sharing today is about building systems, not relying on motivation that comes and goes. Okay, now let's get into the 9 strategies. Strategy 1. Housing optimization. The big lever nobody wants to pull, all right. Here we are. Strategy number 1. And I'm going to be honest with you. This is the one that makes people uncomfortable because it involves looking at the biggest expense in most American budgets and asking a hard question. Housing. For most Americans, rent or mortgage takes up anywhere from 30% to 50% of their take-home pay, and financial experts generally recommend keeping it at or below 28% to 30%. But in cities across this country, Atlanta, Chicago, Houston, Phoenix, Miami, Los Angeles, that 30% guideline is a distant dream for millions of renters. So what do? First, I am not here to tell you that you're living wrong or that your choices are bad. Housing is complicated. It involves your job, your family, your safety, your community. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. But I do want you to look at your housing cost with clear eyes and ask, is this number working for my financial future, or is it the biggest hole in my bucket? Because if 45% of your take-home pay is going to rent, and you're wondering why you can't save, that's your answer. And there are real options to address it. Option 1, house hacking. If you rent, consider getting a roommate, even temporarily. A roommate paying $600 to $800 a month is $7,200 to $9,600 per year straight into your savings. That alone could get you to $10,000 in about 12 to 15 months. Option 2, relocate strategically. Remote work has made this possible for more Americans than ever before. If you're paying $1,800 a month in rent in a high cost of living city but your job is fully remote, there may be a version of your life in a lower cost of living area where that same quality of life costs $900 a month. That's $10,800 a year freed up. That's your $10,000 in under a year. Option 3, negotiate your rent. This one surprises people. Landlords in many markets would rather keep a good tenant at a slightly lower rate than deal with vacancy and turnover. If you've been a reliable tenant, you have more leverage than you think. It doesn't always work, but it costs you nothing to ask. Option 4, if you own your home, refinancing at the right time can reduce your monthly payment significantly. And renting out a room, a basement, or even a parking space can turn your biggest expense into a partial income stream. The point is this: small changes to everyday spending add up over time, but big changes to big expenses change the trajectory of your entire financial life. Housing is the big lever. Pulling it, even partially, can do more for your savings rate than any number of skipped coffees. Action step: look at your housing cost as a percentage of your take-home pay. If it's above 35%, make it a priority to explore at least one of the options I mentioned: roommate, relocation research, lease renegotiation. Strategy 2, automating your savings. The strategy that separates people who build wealth from people who don't. I told you earlier that willpower doesn't work. This is the strategy that replaces it. Automating your savings is, without question, the single most important thing you can do to accelerate your path to $10,000. Not because the math is fancy, not because it requires special knowledge, but because it removes the decision entirely. Here's how most people try to save. They get their paycheck, they pay their bills, they spend on what they need, and then they save whatever is left over at the end of the month. How much is left at the end of the month? Usually nothing. Because here's the truth about human psychology. We spend what we see. If the money is in your checking account, it feels available, and available money gets spent. This isn't weakness. This is just how our brains are wired. The solution is to make savings happen before you ever see the money. This is called paying yourself first, and it is the backbone of every serious wealth-building plan. Here's how you set it up. The moment your paycheck hits your checking account, an automatic transfer fires and moves a set amount, $200, $300, $500, whatever your number is, directly into a separate high-yield savings account or investment account. Before you pay rent, before you buy groceries, before you do anything else, the money is gone before you have a chance to spend it. And within a few weeks, you stop noticing it's missing. Your lifestyle adjusts to what's left, and the savings pile grows quietly in the background. High-yield savings accounts right now are offering rates that are significantly better than traditional banks. Some are offering 4% to 5% annual percentage yield, compared to the 0.01% you might be getting at a big national bank. That means your $10,000 goal account is actually earning meaningful interest while you build it. The combination of automatic transfers plus high-yield interest creates a savings machine that works whether you're motivated or not, whether you remembered or not, whether it was a good month or a hard one. Action step. This week, not next week, this week, open a high-yield savings account if you don't already have one. Marcus by Goldman Sachs, Ally Bank, and SoFi are all solid options with no fees and competitive rates. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account on the same day your paycheck arrives. Start with whatever you can. Even $50 matters. The habit is more important than the amount right now. Strategy 3. Choosing the right investments. Simple beats complicated every time. Okay, let's talk about where you actually put your money, because this is where a lot of people either overthink themselves into paralysis or underthink themselves into losing money. On one end, you have people who spend hours trying to pick individual stocks, trying to find the next Apple or the next Amazon. And occasionally, someone gets lucky. But for every person who picked the right stock at the right time, there are thousands who lost money making the same kind of bets. On the other end, you have people who just leave their money in a regular savings account at a big bank, earning maybe 0.01% interest per year, watching inflation slowly eat away at their purchasing power year after year. Both of these approaches will cost you on your way to $10,000 in invested wealth. Here's what actually works for most Americans who are building wealth from scratch. Broad market index funds, particularly ones that track the S&P 500. When you buy an S&P 500 index fund, you are buying a tiny piece of 500 of the largest, most successful companies in America. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Johnson & Johnson, JP Morgan Chase, and hundreds more. These aren't risky startup bets. These are established businesses that have been creating wealth for decades. You don't need to understand their financial statements. You don't need to follow the news about them. You don't need to know what the Federal Reserve is doing. You just buy a piece of American business across hundreds of companies at once and let it grow. For people who are in their 20s and 30s with decades of investing ahead of them, you might also consider adding a growth-focused index fund to your mix. These funds concentrate on companies that are expanding rapidly, and while they can be more volatile short-term, the long-term returns for patient investors have historically been strong. The simple three-fund approach that many financial experts recommend, a U.S. total market fund, an international fund, and a bond fund, gives you diversification across thousands of companies in dozens of countries with a minimal expense ratio. You don't need anything more complicated than that to build serious wealth. Action step. Research the following three funds this week: FXAIX, Fidelity SP 500, VOO, Vanguard SP 500, or SWPPX, Schwab SP 500. Pick one. Start there. You can always adjust later, but starting is what matters most. Strategy 4. Stop trying to time the market. Consistency beats cleverness every single time. I'm going to say something that might surprise you coming from a finance channel. Stop trying to be smart with the stock market. I mean that in the most loving way possible, because the urge to be clever, to sell before it drops, to buy at the perfect moment, to move your money around based on the news, that urge is costing people dearly. Here's what the data actually shows. The average investor who tries to time the market, moving in and out based on conditions, consistently underperforms the market itself by several percentage points every year. Not occasionally, consistently. And here's why. The best days and the worst days in the stock market are often clustered together. When things are scary, when everyone is panicking and selling, those are often the days right before a massive recovery. If you sell during the panic, you lock in your losses, and then the market bounces back, and you're sitting in cash waiting for the right moment to get back in. By the time you feel safe, you've already missed most of the recovery. Research shows that if you missed just the 10 best days in the stock market over a 30-year period, your overall returns get cut nearly in half. Just 10 days out of thousands. So what's the right approach? Consistency. You invest a set amount every single month, no matter what the market is doing. This strategy is called dollar cost averaging. When prices are high, your money buys fewer shares. When prices are low, your money buys more shares. Over time, it averages out, and you capture the full long-term growth of the market without the stress of trying to predict it. Your only job when building your first $10,000 in investments is this: put money in consistently and leave it alone. That's it. Don't check it every day. Don't panic when it dips. Don't celebrate too hard when when it spikes. Just keep feeding the machine. Action step: set up an automatic monthly investment contribution, even if it's just $50 or $100 to start. Automate it so it happens without you having to make a decision each month. Then step back and let time do the work. Strategy 5: minimizing investment fees. The silent account drainer. This one doesn't get nearly enough attention, and it should, because investment fees are quietly costing everyday Americans enormous amounts of money over their lifetimes. And the worst part is, most people have no idea it's even happening. Here's how fees work. When you invest in a mutual fund or ETF, that fund charges what's called an expense ratio, a small percentage that gets taken out of your returns every year. Some funds charge 1% or more annually, others charge as little as 0.03%. That doesn't sound like a big deal, right? What's the difference between 1% and 0.03%? Over 30 years on a $10,000 investment, everything else being equal. That difference in fees could cost you anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000 in lost growth. That's not a typo. Tens of thousands of dollars silently drained from your account over time because of a fee you probably didn't even know you were paying. The solution is simple: choose low-cost index funds, specifically SP 500 index funds from providers like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab have expense ratios that are incredibly low, some as low as 0.01% to 0.03%. These funds give you ownership of 500 of the biggest companies in America for almost nothing in fees. There is no magical actively managed fund that consistently outperforms a simple low-cost index fund over the long term. Decades of data back this up, so paying higher fees for the promise of better performance is almost always a losing trade. When you're building your first $10,000, every single dollar counts. Don't give any of it away to unnecessary fees. Action step: look up the expense ratio on every fund you currently own. If any of them are above 0.5%, research whether a lower-cost alternative exists. In most cases, it does. Strategy 6: reinvesting dividends. The snowball nobody talks about. This strategy is for the people who have already started investing, even just a little. And if you haven't started yet, this is going to motivate you to get going. When you own stocks or index funds, many of them pay something called dividends. These are small cash payments that companies send to their shareholders, usually 4 times a year, as a way of sharing their profits. When you're just starting out, these amounts seem tiny. Maybe $8, maybe $20, maybe $47. It doesn't feel like it matters. But here's what's actually happening when you reinvest those dividends instead of spending them. You're buying more shares, and those new shares will pay you more dividends, and you use those dividends to buy even more shares, and so on forever. This is the snowball effect, and it starts slowly, but over time, it becomes one of the most powerful forces in all of personal finance. Here's a number that I want you to sit with for a second. Over the past 100 years, the SP 500, which is basically a measure of the 500 biggest companies in America, has averaged about 10.7% annual returns when dividends are reinvested. But if you took those dividends as cash instead of reinvesting them, that number drops to around 6.6%. That difference, just over 4%, might sound small, but over 30 years, it is the difference between a comfortable retirement and a stressful one. We're talking about potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars, all from simply choosing to reinvest instead of cash out. The beautiful thing is, most brokerage accounts, Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard, have a setting called DRIP, Dividend Reinvestment Plan. You turn it on once, and from that point forward, every dividend automatically buys more shares. You don't have to think about it, log in, or make a decision. It just happens. This is exactly the kind of automatic system I'm talking about. Set it once, let it compound for decades, and do not touch it. Action step: log into your investment account today and check if DRIP, Dividend Reinvestment, is turned on. If it's not, turn it on. If you don't have an investment account yet, opening one is your action step this week. Strategy 7: building additional income streams. Expanding your means without losing your mind. All right, I want to take a different approach from what you normally hear in personal finance videos. Most of the advice out there is focused on cutting back. Spend less, sacrifice more, make your life smaller. And yes, we absolutely need to talk about spending, but I want to start from a place of expansion, not deprivation. Because here's the truth. For a lot of Americans, the income side of the equation is just as important, if not more important, than the expense side. If you're making $35,000 a year and paying $200 a month in rent, $400 in car payments, $300 in student loans, and $200 in utilities, there is mathematically not a lot of room to cut. You can skip every coffee and every dinner out and still not move the needle fast enough. That's why additional income streams matter so much, especially income that you earmark specifically and exclusively for savings savings. Now, I am not telling you to go get a second job and run yourself into the ground. That's not sustainable and it's not fun. What I am saying is this: what skill do you have that other people would pay for? Can you write, design, teach, fix things, cook, organize, do hair or nails on the side? Are you great at social media, customer service, bookkeeping? Whatever your skill is, there is a market for it. Platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, TaskRabbit, and Etsy have made it possible to earn real money from skills you already have, on your own schedule, without a boss or a commute. The key, and this is crucial, is to treat this extra income completely separately from your regular paycheck. Your regular income handles your life. Your extra income has one job: building your $10,000. When you separate these two mentally and physically, different account, different purpose, it becomes so much easier to save aggressively without feeling like you're sacrificing your everyday life. You're not taking anything away from yourself. You're adding something new. Even $300 to $500 extra per month saved consistently puts you at $10,000 in 20 to 33 months without touching your regular paycheck at all. Action step. This week, write down 3 skills you have that someone else might pay for. Then research one platform where you could offer that skill. You don't have to launch a full business. You just have to start. Strategy 8. Employer 401k matching. You are literally turning down free money. Okay, this one genuinely makes me a little emotional because it is one of the most heartbreaking financial mistakes I see people make, and it is completely fixable. If your employer offers a 401k match and you are not contributing enough to get the full match, you are turning down free money. Period. I don't know how else to say it. Let me break down exactly how this works with real numbers. Say you earn $50,000 a year. Your employer offers a 50% match on contributions up to 6% of your salary. That means if you contribute $3,000, which is $250 a month, your employer adds another $1,500 on top of it. That's $1,500 that you did absolutely nothing to earn except show up and do your job. That's a guaranteed 50% return on your investment before the stock market does a single thing. Show me anywhere else in the world where you can get a guaranteed 50% return on day one. I'll wait. And yet, millions of Americans are not taking full advantage of their employer match. Some because they don't know it exists. Some because they think they can't afford to contribute. But here's what I want you to really think about. Can you afford not to? If you're leaving $1,500 a year in employer matching on the table, that's $15,000 over 10 years before investment growth. With growth, that number could be $25,000, $30,000, or more depending on the market. That's a significant chunk of your path to $10,000 and beyond, and it's just sitting there waiting for you. I talk to people who say they can't afford to put money in their 401k, and then I find out they have a gym membership they haven't used since February and 3 streaming services. I'm not judging. I've been there too. But the math has to make sense. That employer match is the highest return financial move available to most Americans, and it needs to be the first place your money goes. Action step. Call or email your HR department this week, not next week, this week, and find out exactly what your employer match looks like. Then adjust your contribution to at least capture every dollar of that match. If you truly cannot afford to contribute right now, make it your goal to get there within the next 90 days. Strategy 9. Tax optimization. The free money the government is hiding in plain sight. I know. The word taxes makes people's eyes glaze over, but stay with me for just a few minutes on this one, because this strategy alone could save you thousands of dollars every single year. Thousands of dollars that you are currently handing over to the government when you don't have to. Here's the thing about taxes that most people don't know, and financial advisors who charge by the hour definitely don't rush to tell you. The government has actually built in legal ways for you to reduce your tax bill. They're called tax-advantaged accounts, and if you are not using them, you are leaving real money on the table every single year. Let me make this concrete so it actually makes sense. Let's say you make $50,000 a year. Right now, you're paying federal income taxes on that full $50,000. But if you contribute $6,000 to a traditional 401k at work, which is less than $500 a month, you now only pay taxes on $44,000. That's $6,000 that the IRS never sees. If you're in the 22% tax bracket, which is where a lot of working Americans fall, that's over $1,300 back in your pocket, just from making a contribution you were going to make anyway. Now here's where the Roth IRA comes in, and this is the one I get most excited about for people who are earlier in their earning years. With a Roth IRA, you pay taxes on the money going in, but everything that grows inside that account, completely tax-free. Every dividend, every gain, every dollar of compound growth. The IRS gets none of it when you retire. Think about what that means over 20 or 30 years. If your Roth IRA grows from $6,000 to $60,000 $50,000, which is entirely possible. You pay zero taxes on that $54,000 of growth. Zero. The current contribution limit for a Roth IRA is $7,000 per year if you're under 50. That's less than $600 a month. And every dollar you put in there has the potential to grow completely tax-free for the rest of your life. This is not complicated. This is not sketchy. This is legal, government approved, and it's available to you right now. The only question is whether you're going to use it. Action step. This week, log into your HR portal at work and check if you have a 401k option. If you do, make sure you're contributing at least enough to get the full employer match, and we'll talk about that in the next strategy. If you don't have a 401k, open a Roth IRA through Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab. All three are free to open and beginner-friendly. Okay, let's take a breath, because we just covered a lot. 9 strategies, all of them real, all of them accessible, all of them proven to work for regular Americans who are building from the ground up. Let me bring it together for you, so you can leave this video with a clear picture. Step 1. Capture every dollar of employer 401k matching. That's your highest guaranteed return available. Step 2. Open a Roth IRA and start contributing, even small amounts, for long-term tax-free growth. Step 3. Open a high-yield savings account and set up automatic transfers on payday. This is non-negotiable. Step 4. Look at your housing cost. If it's eating more than 35% of your take-home pay, make a plan to address it over the next 6 to 12 months. Step 5. Identify one skill that can generate additional income. Even $200 to $300 extra per month, directed entirely at savings, accelerates everything. Step 6. Choose simple, low-cost index funds for your investments. SP 500 index funds from Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab. Start there. Step 7. Turn on DRIP, dividend reinvestment, in your brokerage account, so your dividends compound automatically. Step 8. Stop trying to time the market. Set up consistent monthly investments and leave them alone. Step 9. Check the expense ratios on your existing investments. Anything above 0.5%. Find a lower-cost alternative. That's your roadmap. 9 moves. Not all at once. You don't have to do everything this week, but every single one of these you implement brings you closer to that $10,000 milestone. I want to close with something that I think is really important, because there's a story we're told in this country about who gets to build wealth and who doesn't. We're told it's about how much you make, that you have to earn a certain amount before saving becomes possible. We're told it's about where you came from, that wealth is inherited, and if you didn't grow up with it, you're fighting uphill forever. We're told it's about luck, being in the right place at the right time with the right idea. And while income, opportunity, and yes, luck all play a role, I have seen something different play out in the real world. I have seen people earning $40,000 a year build impressive net worth through smart, consistent decisions. And I have seen people earning 6 figures who are quietly, completely broke. The difference was never the income. It was the system. It was whether they had a plan for their money or whether their money just happened to them. You now have a plan. You know about tax-advantaged accounts and how to reduce what you pay the IRS. You know how to capture free money from your employer. You know how to build income streams that go directly into your savings. You know how to invest simply, consistently, and cheaply. You know how to automate the whole thing so it works without relying on motivation. The $10,000 is not a dream. It is the natural result of these strategies applied consistently over time. And once you hit it, once you see that number in your account, everything changes. Not just financially. Something changes in how you see yourself. You stop being someone that money happens to. You become someone who makes intentional decisions about money. That shift, that's the real milestone. I am so glad you spent this time with me today. If this video helped you, please share it with someone in your life who needs to hear it. Your sister, your coworker, your best friend who's been stressed about money for years. This information should not be a secret. Hit that like button if you're committed to your first $10,000. Drop a comment below and tell me, which of these 9 strategies are you starting with? I read every single comment, and I want to know where you're beginning. And subscribe to Deborah Invests if you haven't already, because next week we are going deep on budgeting systems that actually work for people who hate budgeting. You do not want to miss it. My name is Deborah, and this is Deborah Invests. Now go build something.